Good evening, welcome to another edition of the Dugout, and please welcome Harshit
Back.
back after what seems like 20-day holiday.
Does it?
It
Yes.
doesn't seem like that to you.
It felt like that to us.
It seems very long.
At one point even I was like, it doesn't quite feel that long, but yeah, right towards the end of it, maybe let's say last 48 hours, like यार चलो अब काम पे चल रहे थे वापस.
It didn't feel that long when I went for my last break either. Then when it was done, then even I was like, "हाँ ठीक है, now it's good."
Let's go back.
Yeah.
See, that just tells you how much you love sports today, or rather, how much do you love our extended family, the
Absolutely.
subscribers, everyone. That no matter where you do, or where you go, or what you do, or who you're with, at the end of the day, after 4, 5, 6 days, you're like, I think I've had enough. I have to go back to this
Some withdrawal you feel.
withdrawal symptoms.
Mm.
See, Shane went on a honeymoon and yet wanted to come back. Tells you like how much.
I was in 2 different cities over the last 10 days, and I can tell you I was keeping an eye on you guys from both those cities. So yeah, I was missing.
Different cities, which
Yeah.
like New York, London, Tokyo,
No.
Shanghai.
All domestic this time around. So Mumbai first, where
Did you have vada pav?
of course that's the first thing you do that when you get to Mumbai. I had the Kirti Vada Pav, one of the famous ones over there, and I had the pav bhaji there, the misal pav there. It's I don't know if it's showing on the body. I hope it doesn't. But yeah, I've been indulgent in some, enormous amount of eating. Let's say it was pure decadence, as they say. From there, I went to the city, which has now given me a new perspective altogether when it comes to food. And Siddharth, our dear friend, who feels there's a competition going on between Delhi and Mumbai when it comes to food, he must go to Amritsar because the debate for me is rested. The debate for me is rested.
Actually, you went to Amritsar also. Wow, yeah. Did you have fish at Makhan Fish?
Yes.
Did you have the Beira chicken?
That I missed out on. I
Shame.
had plenty of kulchas over there. The
Amrit-
Amritsari kulcha, it's to die for.
No, actually, you could only get it in Amritsar earlier. Wherever else you got those Amritsari kulchas, they had to be bought from Amritsar. They were not locally made. Now I think you get locally everywhere.
Yeah.
But earlier it would only come from Amritsar.
Too good.
Too good.
I have, so I went.
Just as champagne cannot be from any other part but from France,
Yeah.
right? And particular area, like Scotch can be from nowhere but from Scotland. You can make whiskey wherever you want, but from Scotch only, right? You have to call it a Scotch if it's from there. Similarly, Amritsari kulchas can only be called Amritsari kulcha if they're from.
Can't be replicated anywhere else.
Yeah, nowhere else in north of India also.
But otherwise as well. I went there after what? Exactly 10 years to
Really?
Amritsar. Yeah. And I can't wait the next time to go there again. It's too good the experience this time.
So have you caught up with the news mail? Can you tell us what's the two big stories? One that I can mention is that Jaiswal Bumrah is now most likely going to be rested because I believe he's not reached Ranchi while the rest of the team has reached.
While the rest of the team, yes, he didn't travel with the team. There wasn't any visual of him coming out of the airport. There were some visuals that we saw. Jasprit Bumrah wasn't on the same aircraft. So we'd like to believe there's been plenty of reports, as we've reported here as well on Sports Today, that he's been rested for the upcoming 4 Test match. KL Rahul, I'm not sure. I didn't see. I saw some visuals. Didn't see KL Rahul also coming out of the airport, but it's believed that he will be joining the camp. There was anyway not going to be any practice session today. Both teams will be practicing over the next couple of days. Both arrived today, and KL Rahul is expected to be joining the team very soon and be part in terms of preparation for the 4th Test.
Well, then him not being there, not very surprising, right? He was flying in from the NCA, from the National Cricket Academy, the NCA. So him not being there.
He was there.
He was at the
because you
NCA.
guys put some other visuals of him yesterday. Did you not?
Yesterday, no.
Yeah. You don't know. He's in some temple, isn't he? He went to a
Yes.
Yeah, but then that would be in Karnataka only. So
That's what I'm saying.
Some
NCAs in Bangalore.
Lingayat temple that he had visited.
Lingayat Math was what it was called.
So yeah, he's expected to be joining the Indian team soon.
So yeah, because KL Rahul didn't have to be in the same flight, obviously, with the Indian team, because India is coming in from Rajkot, the rest of the team. He's coming in from down south, so obviously would have taken different flights. He'll be there. So expected to be there, and the fact that he visited the Mutt, giving you a sign that he's coming back.
His mobility.
You always his mobility.
Not in question anywhere, huh?
Is it?
No, but going to a Mutt, how do you know that is a sign his mobility is good?
Feeling
That
good to
you
walk.
could do earlier also.
This is just tongue in cheek, of course.
No, that is just you seek the blessings, na, before you begin or restart your career after a small stutter.
Poor guy does need a bit of divine inspiration. I'm not even being mean. His record with injuries it's not good.
I was reading some mean comments on social media. People are saying, okay, you're going to Mats and all, but you start believing in Tuesdays because that's the day of Lord Hanuman and you need strength at the moment, my friend. So, people...
No, he's quite fit, by the way. You see his working out videos, it's like full six-pack abs and he's strong. Just that, some people are more prone to injuries.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of Ashish Nehra. Rishabh, but you are prone to injuries, but you cannot be spoken in the same breath as KL Rahul, who's a professional athlete,
or
who's supremely fit, or Ashish Nehra, who was a fast bowler, not medium pace, masquerading as fast bowler. So there's a difference.
There is.
Though your record with injuries can be equated to the one
Definitely.
I'm talking about. So him coming back, that's a good sign. Jaiswal Bumrah hasn't travelled, but the question for Jaiswal Bumrah would be, he did not even travel to Rajkot in time with the team. He actually just arrived a couple of days before the game was to start. Didn't even have a single practice session. Played straight up. So can that be or no?
I doubt. I think Mukesh's name is now coming up in terms of who comes in for him.
No, Mukesh was there earlier also, but yeah, he went for the Ranji game because there was a big gap.
Yeah.
Also, I think previously, now that I think of it, Jasprit Bumrah came separately because everyone had gone home. There was
I
a
was
big
coming to that.
9-day break or so. So they came separately. Here, the entire team would have travelled together because it's a very short break. You get that extra day because the game finished in 4 days, but still a short break. So I think if he's not gone, it's safe to say he's not there. Mukesh is going to be joining, and I think if it is a pitch like you have been getting in this series, another flattish pitch coming up or a good pitch coming up, I might add, then you will need to play 2 fast bowlers. So Siraj already played, did well last test match. And I think Mukesh, we were judging him too early in that after that one test where it was going to be tough for anybody else also to be doing that well. I guess here he could be playing, unless they even look at Avesh. I don't know what's the status.
Akashdeep was another one.
Akashdeep they got, but Avesh was not named in the remaining 3 test matches. He was in the first 2, then he was sent to play Ranji Trophy, did not play a game. You got Akashdeep, but I doubt any of that will happen. I think those are just backups. So you will go with a Mukesh and Siraj. What that does to the test match, I think we have enough days to be talking about it on Wednesday, Thursday as well. The game starts on Friday
morning.
Yes.
So we have enough time to look at team combination. But that's one news. The other bit of news is Rishabh Pant.
Oh yes.
He's played a game after a long time. He's with the Delhi Capitals camp in Alore. That's where they're practicing. Wondering why they're practicing there, because part of their owners are, they've got a nice sporting facility set up there, which is JSW. So if you're wondering why is a Delhi team, like fans like Harshit of Delhi Capitals would be wondering why not in Delhi itself.
Oh, by the way, they have one here as well.
They
JSW facility not too far away from Gurgaon.
Yeah, but there it is like a full state-of-the-art sporting facility where Neeraj Chopra and all your top athletes go and practice.
In fact, some of the visiting teams have also had camps in Alore, so it's a proper cricketing hub.
So proper sporting hub.
Yeah, sporting hub.
It's got pretty much facilities for everything. Yeah. So all of India's top athletes, even Olympic athletes, will more often than not be training there only. That includes.
But talk about the Delhi Capitals, they've got these camps happening multiple places. Again, in Delhi NCR, they had one in Kolkata not too long back. Then of course one in Alore happening right now.
Because they have resources to have one in Kolkata. Their team director, he was the team director, Saurav Ganguly, from Kolkata. He can organize. Why I'm saying is, if you want to have a camp, you need somebody in the system to organize, your travel, your ground permissions, all of that. So it gets help that way. And JSW as a company also has quite a lot of businesses in that part of the country too. Then in South they've set up this sporting facility. So what I'm saying is that they have a lot of options. They could have done it in Delhi too. They've had camps earlier. But I think the other issue with Delhi is your WPL is starting, and Delhi is going to be one of the places they're hosting. No, not to begin with.
In the second half.
Yeah, but I guess the ground then needs to be given to the organizers, and all of that happens. Plus they had a Ranji Trophy game now, and then suddenly, you'd have to give it to the WPL organizers. So wouldn't have been the ideal. Though Delhi has multiple grounds, you could look at anywhere. But I think the fact that you have such a good sporting facility. So yeah, the news being Rishabh Pant's playing really well. He batted, but wasn't keeping, and in all likelihood will not be keeping during the IPL as well. He's going to be captaining. That's something that you're getting to hear. Which is good news, because earlier there were talks that he may only be used as a substitute player or a impact player. You bring him in. If that's the case, then can he be the captain if he's coming in as an impact player or not? All of those things were there, but now believe that he's looking as fit as ever, which is great news. Which is also great news if you look at the T20 World Cup. I'll tell you why. Don't be surprised if he does have a good World Cup.
You could consider taking him as a batter.
If he has no issues in terms of his, if he has a very good IPL, if he has a very good IPL and doesn't show any sign of any physical issues as such, but that you could. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Sunny Gavaskar said that even if he's on one leg.
I remember,
Yeah, just very recently he said that. Though I know, that's a bit of an exaggeration. But what he meant was semi-fit player will go. Though semi-fit, I don't think India would consider him. Because at the time you have a lot of competition. And even though if he's fully fit, there'll be a lot of competition.
Yeah, it doesn't help that his T20I numbers have been probably the most underwhelming of his career. So he'd need to have an outstanding IPL to be back in the conversation. Outstanding IPL.
True. So maybe not. But as I said, never say never. One IPL can change a lot of things.
Just ask every player in the past decade. Many of them came through the IPL or got attention through the IPL.
It's possible. But what is it that we're talking today?
Well, IPL stars, young stars. No, not exactly IPL stars. Not all of them could be considered. Sarfaraz definitely not. But India's young guns, the ones who came, or as Rohit Sharma aptly described them on his Instagram story, "Aajkal ke bachche."
By the way, that reminds me, Mumbai Indians put out a very nice post on that. So that Rohit Sharma story where he says "Aajkal ke bachche," which is like his way, his very Mumbaiya way of praising the young kids, because the two pictures he's put are like of players, young players doing extremely well. One of Yashashvi and Sarfaraz, and the other that he's put is of Jurel doing that, affecting that outstanding run out. So Mumbai Indians put that out. A very interesting post, because they copied his story and put it out on Instagram, but as a post, and then they wrote that "Bado se hi to sikha hai inhone," basically saying that you guys have been like inspiration. You guys raise the benchmark, and so they are only following you. So that is something that Mumbai Indians put. But though I wouldn't want you to read the comment section, because not very kind comments.
Can imagine.
Because of you know what and why. No, we don't need to see it. I've already seen it. Thank you so much, Pawan, for trying, but we don't need to see it. So yeah, that just reminded me. Coming back to
the youngsters, basically the ones who stepped up, I think, in a big way in this. Now, you could say that Jaiswal's already been playing a few tests, but he's still all of 22.
All of 22, less than a year old when it comes to test match experience. So
exactly.
He debuted in West Indies last year. So he's all of 7-8 test matches old.
And then you had, of course, debutant Dhruv Jurel, debutant Sarfaraz Khan, both of whom stepped up admirably.
So what's the question?
The question is, are we seeing that void that we were worrying about? Should we not be worrying about it? Is the future of Indian Test cricket in safe hands?
What do you think?
It's interesting times actually. You weren't expecting that comprehensive a win to begin with. That too, when you look at this side, there is a Sarfaraz who made his debut, there's a Jurel who made his debut, there is up top a Yashasvi, who's, like I said, isn't even a year
You
old.
weren't expecting a win, but
I was again not the nature of it, not the size or the magnitude of it. 400 odd runs with a side that had 2 debutants, somebody who's a year old in Test match cricket, not even a year old technically speaking. There is no
But
Virat
the question
Kohli.
is, what time were you not expecting? I'll just take it. That depends. If you say before this Test match started, you were not expecting, kind of, I'm on the same page. Before the series started, were you expecting? I was not expecting 1-all.
You went 5-zip.
No, I did not go 5-zip.
No one went 5-zip.
I can't
think
remember.
one of us remember going 5-zip or 4.
No,
Maybe.
Siddharth went 4-1.
4-1.
But I'm saying all of us overwhelmingly, it doesn't matter what, overwhelmingly in favor of India. I'm saying before the series started, I probably would have expected. So when you say you didn't expect this win, that was Harshit before the series started or Harshit right before this Test match?
Right before this Test match,
Test match, huh?
Exactly. Series, I was sure it's an India series. But again,
Because see, I want to highlight how much of our expectations have changed after those 2 Test matches.
But it's also got to do with what the team looks like on paper. Yes, a dream debut, let's say, for Sarfaraz. Another dream Test match after a double hundred in AajTak for Yashasvi as well. We know how far and few double hundreds can be in Test cricket. You don't get too many of those in your career. Do it back-to-back Test matches. Let's say you expect law of averages, let's say, to be catching up at some point. Yashasvi doubling it up quite literally in the very next Test match. Sarfaraz again got denied, let's say, of what many thought would be 100 for him in the first innings. Second innings makes a mark. Again, 2 very good innings for him as well. Jurel also impressing with the bat in many ways. You weren't expecting every box to be ticked the way, it got ticked eventually. So that's why, and for these youngsters, everyone performing and, having, let's say, the dream Test match as they would have wanted, let's say. Even Sarfaraz, if you were to ask him, would you take 250s prior to making a debut? He would have said, absolutely.
So you're happy? You think future is sorted, Indian Test team? Because they are getting all-round praise. Not just, here on this platform, from everywhere else. If Ben Duckett has already come out and said that Yashasvi Jaiswal is a future superstar. I think it is Michael Vaughan or Atherton was one of them who said, I think Vaughan has, that he's Virender Sehwag in the making. He said this about Yashasvi Jaiswal. So that is a lot of high praise coming in from the opposition as well. So everyone, and I love the fact that the other thing is that Nasir Hussain has come out and said, because England came out and said it's lovely to see how well Jaiswal is playing, it's lovely to see how he's adapted our style of baseball and he's playing like that, where Nasir Hussain literally come out and said, shut up, you are not the reason he's playing like that, it is his upbringing. It's the tough phases that he went through, that whole story, and Nasir would know that because Nasir, I know, came down and did that documentary. He went to Shivaji Park.
Yes.
And he's gone and seen the conditions, how matches are played, where that particular tent was or that hut was where he started, he started staying. I remember an old Yashasvi Jaiswal interview where he says that it used to be so hot inside that tent and he only got a place to stay inside that tent because they said if you perform well in a match or two, we'll allow you to stay in that tent. One tin-based sort of a tent that they had in Shivaji Park. So he performed well, was allowed to, had to share it with so many other boys. He would get beaten up there by those boys because he was the youngest. But because he needed a place to stay, he would just, and he would be forced to cook for everyone else. Only if he cooked would the boys allow him to stay. So he's come from that. That is what has toughened him. That is what has gotten him to be scoring like that. And not what England thinks that, oh, he's so impressed by baseball, he's playing like that.
Even in fact, Vaughan said something similar. He said, Ben Duckett is saying that India are going and copying our style as if no one in the history of cricket has ever played an attacking shot in Test.
Yeah, which is why I think he compared him to a Virender Sehwag. I think that would have been a good comparison where he's saying Yashasvi Jaiswal is like the next Sehwag. So, I mean, it's good to see that these guys at the moment are getting praise from all corners. But the question still remains because I think the one issue that we had was that this is transition time. This is where things are changing. And everyone said, when you have a transition, when things change, it's not going to be easy. And you knew that. When results were not going to go your way, you knew transition would be tough because you're moving away from an Ajinkya Rahane, from a Cheteshwar Pujara. And look at the examples of any cricketing country, how great ever it might be. When they started this churn or this change of guard, the initial test match wouldn't have been easy. For India, at the moment it looks like, wow, this was a piece of cake. It's happened so far. You got a Sarfaraz, you got a Yashasvi, both, just at the starting of their career, and all things seem fine. So the transition has happened, everyone is happy. Not only transition, now the talk is we found two future superstars in Test cricket. But my point is, should we take it as it's come, or is it something that we need to be wary of? Because at the end of the day, Yashasvi Jaiswal, 10 odd Test matches, and Sarfaraz only played his first Test match. Have we found a solution, or just as we oftentimes are, getting overexcited when we see young talent?
110% you're getting overexcited. Now that's not to say that these guys don't have promise, they don't have potential. There's plenty of it. But how many times have you seen youngsters start their Test career, do well in India, then oftentimes end up getting found out in foreign conditions? You need to take a patient approach, dare I say. And I think, it's fair to say that, a lot of the praise that's coming is, in fact, I was just saying, even from England, I remember there was some journalist, I'm forgetting his name, who tweeted saying that I've only seen Sarfaraz Khan bat for about 20 minutes. And I'm still wondering how the hell is it that this guy's never played for India? High praise indeed. But let's wait and watch. These guys are into the early parts of their Test careers. You've seen enough instances where players tend to struggle when the pressure really goes. You start well, great. That's one part of the puzzle you're done with. What about when you go forward? And there's no way to know. You're only going to cross that bridge when you come to it. And quite frankly, you're a long way from even getting to the bridge, never mind crossing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy. I couldn't be happier, because if you've seen our programming, we've often backed both Sarfaraz as well as Yashasvi. That they should have been part of the team. They have the talent, and I think what they showed in the last Test match, the partnership that they had, and imagine that they have that partnership, and just after that, England players find it almost impossible to be playing on that pitch. Just tells you how good they were in those conditions. But I say there is a big but, and I would want to wait, and I hope everyone who's watching, and I hope if you're a big fan and believer of Indian cricket, you also do not jump the gun and get too excited, because quite often in the recent past, we have gotten excited whenever we see young talent come in, right? There have been few occasions in the past, young talented players have come up, and then we think, okay, our problems are sorted, we've got one for the future, they will all go and have a long career, but it not always turns out that way, okay? And I'm going to illustrate why we should not get excited based on a few recent examples, okay? Not going back too far, but a few recent examples, because I thought some of those players were going to be future greats in Indian Test cricket. So we've dug out a few numbers, and if good producer Pawan can show it on the screen. So these are three players in Shikhar Dhawan, Mayank Agarwal, Prithvi Shaw, okay? All proper batters who came in very recently, and we thought that we had found the solution. Now, Shikhar Dhawan, the way he started with that double 100 in Mohali versus Australia, believe you me, if I asked you that he'll only end up playing 34 Test matches after that Test match, Messrs. Ahuja and Dias, would you have agreed with me?
No, I would not have.
Right? After that double 100, Shikhar Dhawan gets that double 100, and I say, oh boss, I don't know, 34 Test matches, what he'll say. You'd laugh at me. You'd say he's a fool. What does he not see? That is the Australian team. He's whacked them, gets you a double 100. What has happened? He ended up playing 34 Test matches. Same for Mayank Agarwal, by the way. That's a name that we tend to forget. Say Mayank Agarwal, he only ended up playing 21 Test matches, and his career by no means is over. I mean, in the sense, who knows? He makes a comeback. By the way, on the subject of interesting stories, I don't know if you saw his on Instagram today. Did anyone of you see that?
No.
I must show it. So there's Mayank Agarwal today sitting in an aircraft with his own bottle of water. With his own bottle of water and
risk nahi lene ka or something like that.
Risk nahi lene ka baba. He's put. Wish Siddharth was here. He's quoted a Paresh Rawal thing for this.
It would be bilkul risk nahi lene ka.
Carrying a blue.
Risk nahi lene ka baba. So he's carrying that. Anyway, so back to the deep dive. Mayank Agarwal ends up with 21 Test matches and an outstanding start to his test career. Prithvi Shaw as well, though Prithvi Shaw had various other reasons not being part of the team, but had that dip. And in Prithvi's case, I'll just say that his sample size is very small, 5 test matches, and I know that sometimes it's not fair. But why I've put this is because, you know, sometimes we jump the gun and we think we found the solution and this is it. But look at just 3 of these examples that I've taken. It's not happened. And what's the primary reason that it's not happened? And I think that's where, if you see the rest of the stats, Shikhar Dhawan averages 41, which looks very good for a test match player. Like you have a KL Rahul who's almost certain to be playing all test matches in the mid-30s his career average. Here's a man with 41 is not playing. But I think there is reason for a KL to be playing, and there was reason for a Shikhar not to be playing. I don't think any of them have been dealt a bad hand in that sense. They're not unlucky. I think they reached a stage where, you know, their form had dipped, and when they were dropped, I don't see that was being unfair. I think there was reason enough for them to be dropped. But why is it that a 41 average of a Mayank Agarwal and a 41 average of a Shikhar Dhawan, they were dropped, but a mid-30 guys like KL Rahul is so essential for your team? That's because if you look at KL Rahul's numbers overseas and at home, there isn't much to choose from. And when I mean overseas, I mean Asian condition vis-a-vis Sena conditions. Now, and that's the difference. Shikhar Dhawan, look at his overall average looks good, 41, because in Asian conditions, that would be India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. I do not have the breakup now, but he is averaging 61. So in conditions you are more familiar with, you average 61. But as soon as you go to Sena countries, and by the way, when I've written Sena, not all of them have played. I know that Mayank Agarwal has not played. In Shikhar's case, I think he's played in all the Sena countries. Mayank, I don't think he's played in New Zealand.
Yeah, he's played Australia, England.
Or has he not played in England?
Could be that he's
not played in England.
Also.
He's played in New Zealand. So, and in Prithvi's case, of course, he hasn't played in any other place other than Australia.
Yeah, and even there he was brutally exposed with that whole.
So my point is, when we've written Sena, that does not necessarily mean that all of them have played in Sena country. The point there is to illustrate tougher conditions. So conditions like Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, and England, which are not really natural to you or quite alien to your batter. So that's the one difference that you see. At home, Shikhar 61, in Sena countries 26. Mayank Agarwal at home, meaning Asian conditions, 58. Overseas, see that drop to 27. Prithvi Shaw at home 119, but those matches in Australia left him exposed at an average of 17. So my point is that why I've taken these examples, I hope it doesn't happen. I'm a huge fan of Yashasvi Jaiswal, a huge fan of Sarfaraz. I hope they can replicate this sort of a performance when they go in overseas condition. But I'm saying only time we should be really happy that we found our answers is if they've had 2, if not all 4 tours, at least 2 good tours of out of the 4, 2 of those Sena countries. And I think that is something that we have to wait for. Let me give you an example of Yashasvi. Again, I don't think that you need to judge him in those limited test matches, but his average in West Indies and India combined is more than 100. His overall average is around 70 in test cricket right now, 70 plus. But his average in West Indies and India, 2 conditions which weren't alien to him, it's 100 plus. His average in those 4 innings that he had in South Africa is around 12. Okay, 4 innings. I agree that it's a small number. He needs to have multiple tours before we discount his overseas performance, and I think he deserves a few more tours, and he will be going for a few foreign tours, and I think that will be his real test. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that even for a Sarfaraz, I'll give you an example. A Sarfaraz, when you this one particular shot, I distinctly remember where he's trying to play a ramp shot. Okay, he's trying to play a ramp shot, and at last moment realizing the ball is not there for a ramp, he defends it, and it takes his leading edge. But he is able to adjust it. There is that much time to adjust to that fast bowling. But my point is, when you're going to be playing in overseas condition, when you're playing at the Gaba or at MCG or at
Waka,
won't be at Waka anymore. Optus.
Yeah.
But even if you're in England or in New Zealand, where even though the pitches there have now flattened out, but you still know the conditions are different. I'll give you an example. Like for me, one of the moments of the last Test match is Yashasvi Jaiswal hammering Jimmy Anderson for those 3 sixes. But I cannot believe that even though he's 41 years of age, you give him a new Duke's ball, give him some overcast conditions, give him a pitch like Manchester or Edgbaston or somewhere, and then I would like to see if Yashasvi will treat him with disdain just as he did here. That would be the real test. I'm sure Jimmy will have a few tricks up his sleeves to ensure that this does. So that's where the real test is. As much as I'm excited about these three young guys going forward, but I will also not go so far as to say, like everyone is saying that, oh, we are sorted. I think you're still in that churn, and that churn or that transition will only be complete if, even if one of the two batters give you great numbers overseas.
I mean, see, you've seen it already. If you're to look at more recent examples, look how India scrambled when it came to replacing a Pant. You didn't have a ready-made replacement. You had KS Bharat, who you thought, okay, perfect backup, understudy, if need be, give him a few games here or there. No Pant available, KS Bharat thrown to the deep end. You discarded him. You brought in Ishan Kishan. That didn't work out for a multitude of reasons. Now you've turned to Dhruv Jurel after once again trying and failing with KS Bharat. So that's one player. Here we're talking about the churn that is there. We're not even counting the likes of a Gill yet, who is a younger player and now adjusting to a new position. So there's plenty of inexperience still there. A Patidar who's himself going to likely be sitting out the next test. Two tests in.
I was coming to Patidar only because you look at numbers at the moment. Again, Patidar has underwhelmed to what we were expecting from Patidar. You know, we're making this comparison between Patidar and KS Bharat. Of course, KS Bharat getting more games than Patidar. But technically speaking, we were talking about visual aesthetics and all. Look more technically sound Patidar. But even then, what's happening with that at the moment? Again, somebody who's got the numbers, who has been in and around this.
Patidar just 4 innings. No, why?
That's what I'm saying.
Discount
so
him?
Again, you're not discounting him at the moment, and I'm with that. You should not be getting ahead of yourselves at the moment when you see these youngsters as well. With Jaiswal, yes, there is much to comment on, far more, let's say, in comparison to a Sarfaraz, who's only played all of 2 innings at the moment.
So, more to comment as to what?
As to if he's showing the right temperament, which he has to me, because I remember his first innings that he played in the West Indies, it took him his 16th ball to get off the mark, and that was a boundary. Now, again, somebody you expect playing his first test match, really, this first 5-6 delivery, you speak of big players, even regardless, you talk about a Virat Kohli. Remember, this was said when he got out against England during the World Cup. What was the reason? Because he wasn't able to rotate the strike, wasn't able to get off the mark. So again, he showed you temperament then. Getting off the mark is a big thing for everyone who's batted, especially at the highest level. 14-15 balls on your debut, you don't get to get a single run off your bat. Shows the temperament, then gets a boundary, and now plays the kind of attacking cricket that you're seeing him play now that he's been able to spread his wings as well. So that I would say I've seen, let's say, the whole, I wouldn't say transition, I've seen the whole spectrum of somebody who has the gumption to take in the pressure as well. Yashasvi.
But I'll tell you what, again, it's just a guess, okay, and there's no way that it's a hypothesis, so I do not know what is going to happen. There could be a chance where Sarfaraz might have a better chance of succeeding in Test cricket than Yashasvi Jaiswal. I'll tell you why. I agree with you in terms of temperament. I love Yashasvi Jaiswal's temperament, and the other thing that he has is hunger. Before I forget, and that makes a huge difference. There is I don't know if you noticed, there is a moment there in a Test match which has gone viral between Yashasvi Jaiswal and Sarfaraz Khan. Okay. No, where Yashasvi says कि मैंने बहुत मेहनत की है यहाँ तक आने के लिए. So he's I think nearing his double 100 where he's saying that, and Sarfaraz is telling him don't worry वो आएगा. All I'm saying is that I mean there were a few beep words there as well, but that was not.
I think yes, he was stranded as in 90s where he wasn't able to breach the inner ring.
But I'm saying that also, see that sometimes you forget that the hunger to succeed, right? And no matter what you say, I know everyone is hungry to succeed. Everyone aspires to do better. Everyone wants to play all format. But let's be honest here. There is some people, they display far more hunger. They're far more driven than the others. It's an honest assessment. Some are satisfied much earlier, whether it is IPL has come their way, whatever. In Yashasvi's case, the first thing that I love, and that box is ticked, that hunger is there. He's not happy with just being an IPL star, which he's become already, or being a T20 star for India, which also he's become. Now he'll be in your squad most likely, at least in the squad. I don't know the 11 in your squad that he goes there. So he's established himself there, yet to play an ODI. So he's shown you that he's got there. But you can see in his attitude, which you do not see with a lot of other IPL stars, that he's hungry for even Test success. So that's box tick. Why I'm saying there's a better chance of a Sarfaraz succeeding in Jaiswal, and I think we've discussed that earlier, that when you are an all format player, it sometimes is tough to adjust to those conditions. Now, he can do well, and now what happens in an all format player? Let me just talk about Yashasvi. Yashasvi grew up from the Maidans of Mumbai, and what is one thing that you know from Mumbai is that they will produce technically correct batters. Even now, certain unorthodox shots are never appreciated. So if you've come through the Mumbai school of batting, your basics are going to be right, and that is the case in Yashasvi. But what happened? Yashasvi came to the IPL level, and till he was playing under 19, you can go with your basics being correct. You don't have to really push the benchmark of being batting at a 200 strike rate or setting the tempo right from the start. That is something that he had to adapt in IPL. If you remember, his start in IPL wasn't great, but then now he's adapted. I read a lot of stories about what happened. So there are a lot of people in the Rajasthan camp who have claimed that they worked on his batting, okay, in terms of getting that strength. So one thing he started doing is going to the gym, because he was a lean guy, so he's developed some muscle, as you can see, which allows him those big hits in T20 cricket. So that's one thing he's worked on. Secondly, he had to work on his bat swing. Now T20 batting and the way to succeed in T20 is very different. So I'm not saying technically correct batters cannot do it, but in Yashasvi's case, he had to make those changes, which I read about. A lot of people from Rajasthan said that he was more of an offside player. He would very well offside, but you need a lot of onside hitting as well. For that, you have to do those baseball style of hitting where your bat needs to come from a little further away, not really close to the body. This is against the basic grain of your principle of keeping it close to the body. And so he started doing that, which is why we've seen T20 cricket now become very successful, has that swing, can whack it this way. So he's had to change that. Now, those changes work well in Indian conditions, even when you're playing test match cricket, because there's that extra time. The new ball wouldn't do that much. So your hand-eye coordination, things like that will help you do that. Still, all I'm saying is that to be an outstanding T20 player in IPL and in international cricket, your test game will have to be corrupted a bit. Unless you are naturally like that, which I'll get to another example later. So once you've corrupted that, it will still do well in Indian conditions. It's when you go in overseas conditions, sometime those things, because see, it's not a switch on and switch off. Now, he can't get completely technically correct. Like I'm in South Africa, I'll switch this button off, and now that away from the body swing that I needed to hit, now I'll bring it back. It doesn't. Muscle memory will not allow you instantly to do that. So that will happen. Now people will say, but how is it that a Virender Sehwag, who batted and who now drawing comparison between a Yashasvi Jaiswal, how is it that a Virender Sehwag could still do it overseas in Sena countries as well as because if you see in Virender Sehwag's case, he never adopted unorthodox ways to be successful in T20. Even in test matches, his aggression was still very technically correct strokes. He had a high backlift, much closer to his body. He would play through the line to his fast bowlers. And for the spinners, he would dance down the wicket. He would hammer the spinners in different ways. And for fast bowlers as well, conventional way. Which also, by the way, another player who does that is Rohit Sharma. Even when he accelerates in white ball, it's still very technically correct. He has that game to accelerate with being technically correct. So when he has to play test cricket, the adjustment is minor. The adjustment is not in terms of technique, adjustment is in terms of mental this thing, that okay, now I have to leave a few balls, I don't have to go for every ball. That is mental, but technically in Yashasvi's case, he's made those technical adjustments to be very good in T20, which has emerged. Will now batting in test match overseas condition, will that hamper it? That's not happening in Sarfaraz's case, because he's not really excelled in T20 cricket. He's not really now your T20 regular, and also doesn't have to really work hard to be there. All he can do is, okay, he may not succeed in Sena, but then he can go back to the drawing board and say, no, I have to work hard how to negate a swinging bowler or a Anderson or all of that. Then he can work on that. In Yashasvi's case, I find it difficult. It's not that he can't do it. He's a talented guy, and first thing I mentioned, he's hungry. Anyone who's hungry will do anything to rectify that. If that boy could fight through those hardships as a kid, I'm sure he can. This is going to be a piece of cake for him to do it. But it may be tougher for him to succeed there as much as for Sarfaraz. And that's why it would, gladden me to no extent if I do see Yashasvi do well in all conditions. I'd be the happiest person on the planet. But I think the jury is still out. I want him to do well. I'm going to discount those 4 innings. But what did those 4 innings tell you? That he has work to do in those conditions.
I think you are right in one sense. Definitely that all of those, and it's a very small sample size really of players who have had to be all format greats.
Yes.
All of them have not really had to make changes. Even, and I'll say this, even of an AB de Villiers, who was the most 360. I mean, he was called Mr. 360 because he was scoring everywhere. He was unorthodox. But he was like that more often than not in Test cricket also.
Yeah, exactly. So the difference in AB was, and why he could adjust, because he started off like that.
Exactly.
He didn't have to turn or get that baseball thing, which is interesting. What I said, which Yashasvi probably has had to do. If you see those swings, and go back to that Jimmy Anderson, some of those sixes were murdering Jimmy Anderson. Sluggish to say. Rohit Sharma seldom will do that. That's why I say technically he could still be aggressive without. Even a Virender Sehwag, if you go back, it weren't like really slogging. With his slogs, sometime would happen against spinners, where he was helping, but not against fast bowlers. That's why I'm saying those guys were naturally like that. That wide off the body that AB de Villiers had.
A Warner, another one. Who's power-based, bludgeon-based. Gale in his heyday, again, would bludgeon. But then that was always his game. He was playing like that, whether it was white ball, ODI, T20I, Test, didn't matter. He was playing the same way. A Kohli had success across formats playing the same way. But just the aggression would be ramped up.
Which is why he's now having to deal with that criticism. Because in Kohli's case, he refused to change his game for T20, which I was just saying. To be that bully in T20, he would have had to go away from his technical game. He refused to do that. He said, no, with my correct game, I'll find a way to be successful in T20, which he did. Now that the T20 game has evolved, where now you're looking at 200 strike rate, this is what now is the criticism that is coming his way. Now, but I'd still say, Kohli would say, I've done majority of my career being successful, all format, without allowing T20 to corrupt my batting.
Correct.
But at some point, even Yashasvi, I think, will have to make those tweaks. Right now, everything's going exactly as he would have wanted. But let's take the example of Shubman Gill. He came across as the most technically correct batter. Even right now, there's not too many technical flaws.
Though there were a few flaws that emerged. I think the last inning he rectified those. A few technical flaws.
Exactly. Let me go back to the first test match. The first test match in Hyderabad, both those times, what was he guilty of? Hard hands. There was a fielder placed, both those occasions, found the fielder, hard hands, because you knew, and if you've been watching Shubman Gill closely over the last few months now, after all the success that he had in the IPL last year, again didn't have an ideal WTC final, after which began that lean patch. And yes, of course, there's been a few hundreds to follow after that, one of which coming just in the previous test match. But there's been a dry patch that he's had to sustain. Prior to this test match, you take out this innings, across formats he struggled for runs, which is why he lost his place in the T20Is as well. So that's to say that yes, to be an off-format player, and you make a very valid point, it's going to be difficult at some point. The law of averages will catch up. I just hope he's not technically, and this is the one technical aspect of Gill that he's been exposed of late. Hard hands, pushing at the ball, found guilty on a couple of occasions already.
Also,
in this
planting
series.
his front foot, which is a very T20 thing.
Yeah.
Just planting your front foot and playing across the lines, which troubled him in Test cricket with the ball that came in.
Yeah.
But I must say that he did work on that last innings that he played flawlessly, and Markwood knew that that's his weakness, so he was bang on the money to begin with, thinking that now I'll trap him in front of the stump. But Gill came prepared, so he did work on that particular weakness that he had.
Gill's an interesting example because he was the other way around. He was someone who managed to definitely always, again, very technically correct player. In fact, the criticism at KKR in his early days that he was too technically correct, that he didn't have the makings of a T20 player, that he was a middle order bat.
Anchor opener.
Yeah, he was the anchor opener because who were his partners? Chris Lynn, Sunil Narayan. You had one aggressive batter who was told to go hell for leather, whilst Gill held an end. That was the criticism, that he was not suited for T20 cricket. Then when he finally worked on that, his test game got corrupted. Hard hands.
And he emerged as the highest run getter last time, had an outstanding strike rate.
Yeah, 140 odd he used to strike.
More, I think it was more.
So he managed to turn his game around, but then that test game suffered. With Yashasvi also, I remember, I think his first season would have been 2020.
I think, if I'm not wrong, he was guilty of the same in Bangladesh as well.
Correct. So with Yashasvi, as I was saying, I think his first IPL season, 2020, which is a weird season because it was again the COVID season. So he was with Rajasthan Royals, and I remember looking at him back then, I was thinking, I know they went for him. Why? Because again, he was someone who he had done very well in the T20 on the Under-19 World Cup that year. It was held in the beginning of 2020. It was the final which India lost to Bangladesh. And Jaiswal was your biggest star player to emerge from there. I understood why, but I'm like, oh, this guy looks a bit like Gill in the sense that he needs some work for T20s. 2 years later, the way he turned it around was amazing.
Joss Butler, like who would have thought?
Amazing.
Joss Butler who did 5 centuries the previous season. Yes, of course, got those first couple of 50s to be, after which he was outscoring his own partner.
Which is why I'm saying because we have that debate of how will you make your T20 World Cup 11 with both Rinku and Yashasvi. I'm not leaving either of them out. I don't care what you do. Rinku in that middle order has to be there, and Yashasvi the way he's batting as an opener squad. They're your 2 X factors, man, in T20.
And not so coincidentally, both left-handers. Yeah. Something you've lacked sorely for so long in white ball cricket.
Brilliant.
No, actually, if you're talking about youngsters who have to make that, I think even Jirel is a good case in point. I thought he was a little unlucky to not get a 50 in his first innings. Hell of a catch here. Give Ben Foakes a little bit of credit. He went for the shot. There was nothing wrong with the shot.
Early days for sure.
Yeah, early days, but I like what I saw of him based on what? At times he knew how to switch on the intent. He could switch, and again, I think best example,
because he's played IPL. So
he's played IPL and done well there. I think always that one shot which I remember was that ramp to Mark Wood. I'm thinking, God.
His first boundary.
Yeah, first boundary. First six. I'm like, my God, this guy is making his debut. No nerves whatsoever. Mark Wood bowling 150, gone. And after that, he was hanging around with Ashwin and doing well. Again, that eye test we always talk about. So far, so good.
Yeah, but again, overseas conditions.
That's always going to be the litmus test.
Yeah, his keeping was good. Actually, he did very well, barring those few deliveries of Kuldeep, which he just could not read.
I don't blame him.
He just could not read those. But overall, keeping is good. And those AajTak ke bacche image of him, captain is approved of it. But again, his batting overseas, because now you've gone past the days where you just need a good keeper. You need him to be a good batter. He did, I agree, showed some signs in this particular test match with the bat too. But again, overseas conditions. I'll wait.
That's the big test for all of them.
Jaiswal. It is indeed.
Oh.
What happened? Why? What? What happened?
Impressed at how much love is being shared. Let's say. Shubham Garg says that if Bumrah had told the team he's ready to skip the first few IPL games, then will the team rest him in the Ranchi test match? If no, then clearly Bumrah put IPL over India.
I can't read it. No, that's why. Better. Now, Shubham is saying if Bumrah had told team he is ready to skip first few IPL games, would team have rested him in Ranchi test match? If no, then clearly Bumrah has put IPL over India. What are your thoughts?
But how many people are resting from IPL? It's very easy to say, oh, you should, but name very few countries. I think the only 2 countries that really put IPL over or international over IPL would be England and Australia. Look at England, they pulled out 2 of their fast bowlers from the IPL. No Mark Wood, no Gus Atkinson.
The point that Shubham makes is interesting because we're still, though it was a demoralizing defeat for England earlier, but why would you allow them even a glimmer of hope to make a comeback? I'm not saying that this England team goes in favourite to win the next test, but I think India is still favourite in the Ranchi test, completely agree. And there's nothing to doubt that India cannot win without Jasprit Bumrah, but I still maintain that at this point, why allow them to even make it 2-2? Even that one foot in the door, what happened in this last test match? England were ahead, that one reverse scoop by Joe Root allowed India to come into the game, and from there on, India ended up winning the test match. Why do you do that in the series? He's been the number 1 bowler of this series, without doubt, so far, Jasprit Bumrah. And you have someone like him. I know that he's bowled close to 90 overs already in the 3 test matches.
83 odd, I think.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that you have a 5 test match series. What do you do? What do you do? You want to win the series or not? Maybe win it 3-1 and then rest him Dharamshala.
I think this has to go with his previous medical records again, because you were already talking at the start of the series that given how active he's been and how much cricket he's been playing, at some point maybe you'll have to look at resting him, because 5 test matches is a lot. Yes, after those 2 test matches, because you weren't bowling your fast bowlers quite a lot, but Jasprit Bumrah was that one standout bowler who was doing the bulk of the bowling, unlike, let's say, what the opposition has been doing.
You were captain, you would do it. What do you do, Rohit Sharma? I'm Rohit Sharma, I'm going to Jasprit Bumrah.
If there's something, if
brother, you got to play for me.
If I'm taking those
one more test, I want to win the series. Make it 3-1. Then we rest in Dharamshala.
But maybe it's again, I think this is coming from the NCA as well, because I think they have all the paperwork, they've got all the medical research and study, knowing how much strain, let's say, a Shreyas or a KL or a Bumrah, all these guys who spent a lot of time with the NCA folks.
Shreyas has said he cannot bat more than 30 balls.
I perfect for IPL then. You'll only bat about 30 balls.
So maybe, and of course,
you would have your captain, you okay?
I would really have wanted, but if you...
you have to take a call. What do you do? Now you are in this same situation. What do you do? Rest him?
I think I would have, because I'm looking at the World Cup as well.
No, I will play him here. Tell him, listen, 9-day gap till Dharamshala, and Dharamshala, you rest, be ready to bowl 4 overs in the IPL per match.
Maybe I would. Again, but my decision would have been
Rohit
determined.
was captain in IPL, then he could have even given that deal. But now he can't. Because then he would have said that, listen, you bowl another one, I'll rest you if you give me.
But now you
can't promise him that.
You've seen it with this particular player only in the past, where he had one full season of the IPL, but prior to that he wasn't available, after that he wasn't available. So we've seen all that happen as well. So he's going to be playing the IPL any which way. What I want to be looking forward to is the T20 World Cup. So because I know he's going to be involved with 2 months of cricket, if this helps him...
the IPL, boss. We will talk about Jasprit Bumrah missed the IPL. He was injured.
Yeah, that was last year when he was so badly injured that he wasn't playing any cricket.
But
that's what I'm saying.
We remember an interview which went out, right? And it was told that yes, it was Bumrah only who took those painkillers so that he was available for the IPL, want to rush in and all of that. So we've seen those times as well.
And you've also seen Jasprit Bumrah play 14 games in the IPL when Mumbai were out in 7.
Yeah, why?
So
never makes sense.
2022, beyond any rationale. Shubham Garg says, before hyping Jaiswal and Sarfaraz, remember where your last domestic performers in Mayank Agarwal, Prithvi Shaw, Shreyas Iyer were, with stellar debuts in the home series, and currently all 3 of them then failed in the Sena Nations.
Yeah, pretty much what we discussed earlier. Yeah. Divyang.
Starting 11 for Oz too. We've reached that far.
Man.
We've not even played a T20 World Cup. Man's reached Australia. Love it.
We just discussed the T20 11. I was thinking that, we are talking about it, but it's still a bridge too far. And I was like,
Australia? Okay. Yashasvi, Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, Virat Kohli, KL, Rajat Patidar, Ravindra Jadeja.
No, could be Rishabh Pant.
Or could be Rishabh Pant. Yeah, actually Rishabh Pant makes more sense. Yeah. Rishabh Pant, and I'm assuming he's keeping him as a keeper, but then that's
that's also
Jadeja.
By the time you go, end of the year.
He might very well be keeping. Ravindra Jadeja, Ashwin, Bumrah, Shami and Siraj.
That's a team. Hell of a team.
I played 2 spinners in Australia.
No, but I'm just saying, you could make... I'm just saying the whole...
but the team is a very good looking team. Very good looking team.
That's an impressive team. That gives you hope that 3 tours in a row you could win.
What a headline that would make for.
It's looking good.
Well, that's a very good team, no two ways about it.
But it's a long time away, A lot of things change. Because this series is not over.
This series, IPL, T20 World Cup.
Oh, what I'm saying is, because you're sitting pretty right now 2-1, so everything is fine. Hypothetically, you end up losing this series.
No dear. Or draw.
Everything your players' spot will be questioned, captaincy would be questioned, everything. Because you're losing a series at home, it's a catastrophe. So, while that 11 for Australia looks good now, but for that to happen, a lot of other things have to happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
International 3191 again. Does Sarfaraz Khan have the technique to succeed in Senas, especially South Africa and Australia?
Good point. See, I agree that that eye test you're talking about, sometime in terms of technique may not look 100%. But I'll tell you what, there have been other players. It's not always someone who looks aesthetically very good, but also someone who's a street smart cricketer. For example, Javed Miandad comes to my mind, and a lot of comparison with me. He was a busy player all the time. He was good. His defense was very good. street smart, but he could find ways to succeed in different conditions as well. Not the aesthetically most pleasing batter, no Zaheer Abbas, but could find ways. So I'm saying his test will happen. I know that there have been previous occasions where he's been on 8 tours and hasn't been very successful against fast bowling. I know that that's the thing with Sarfaraz. But the advantage in his case is that if he puts his mind to it, there's only one area that he needs to work on, would be that. Because he doesn't have to find ways to be 30-20 bully as well. He doesn't have to focus on that. That's what I was trying to say, that for Yashasvi, he's so good in that he is trying to be better in that, and he will have to continue to be good in that, and simultaneously also find a way to be good in Sena country. That's a tougher proposition than compared to Sarfaraz, who can just put his head down and concentrate on just being good in that.
And we know how much he values the test side of things. Highly, very, very, very highly.
True.
Then you've got Dhairya, who says that the IPL is again 5 to 9 days away from an ICC tournament, talking about 2024, 2021 World T20 group stage exit, 2021 WTC, 2023 WTC, 2024 World T20. Basically, bad omens.
More than that, we now know that it's starting on the 22nd, the IPL. Well, the exact schedule is going to be out, but starts on the 22nd. And that's just about 10-11 days after the series gets over. The series getting over on the 11th. So that's exactly 11 days from the test series getting over, your IPL is starting. That I've often said, I think you need to have some sort of breaks or bigger breaks between. It's a 5 test match series. Those guys will have to be playing for the IPL team. I feel for them changing format. No wonder you are having now players asking for breaks in different series.
For that matter, for me, nothing beats 2011. You had the World Cup at home. India played, won the final. 8 days later, IPL. And I'm like, there's a lot of burnout there, guys. The World Cup just lasted over a month. You've won. You don't even have time to celebrate because it's like, oh yeah, IPL. And I'm like, oh god. That was a season I think a lot of people sleepwalk through.
I know. Because that higher that World Cup from there on, no IPL game was going to match it.
It wasn't.
But you have to feel for the players too. Too hectic.
Far too hectic.
Too hectic. For us as well.
No
break.
What break? No, we also take breaks in between tours now.
Missed an amazing test match.
He can't comment.
You missed the World Cup?
Exactly. I can't comment. I cannot.
Okay.
Shubham Garg says next year the WTC will be most likely 7 days after the IPL final. If Mumbai plays IPL final, Jaiswal Bumrah should take rest from WTC final as workload management is paramount.
Being naughty, sure. Naughty.
Good one. Good one.
But we get your point.
Point
Again, the same thing, WTC final will happen right after IPL. Rohit Sharma said something that why does it have to happen in June? Why does it have to happen in England? He did raise a few questions, but now doesn't matter the question he raised. It's already decided that it's again happening in England. This time it's going to be at Lord's.
For that
Southampton, Oval, now Lord's.
For that matter, he even asked for 3 match finals.
I know. Okay. 07 says, guys, don't count your chickens before they are hatched. That is Sarfaraz and Jaiswal. Test will be in Sena. Thumbs up to you. Exactly what we discussed in our program. Okay, it says that broadcaster is a PR agency always against Rohit after he broke their contract. Oh.
People put way too much weightage into some top 16 there. Come on.
Yeah.
It's a broadcaster top 16.
We'll pick our own top 16.
We could do that actually, not the worst idea.
Yeah, we'll do it. Let's do it tomorrow.
Please.
Yeah, in the middle of a test series.
Let's do top 16.
The broadcasters are doing it.
But then for those broadcasters,
them,
for those broadcasters, that's one of 2 things that matters now. Yeah. They lost the Indian cricket contract. So.
I think they're going to be merged anyway.
But that's the digital side of things.
No.
The
entirety. Oh dear.
It is.
Yeah, you're right. I remember reading it. No.
Now that it just came back from Mumbai, I can say yes.
Yeah.
They're
going to merge. So
writing on the wall.
It is. Yeah. It's almost a matter of time.
Yeah.
And so they may continue to run it as 2 different entities. They could, but they would be merged as in terms of the company, and the control would be with one. The other will still be a stakeholder, but the control would be with one. But they could choose to either run it as a separate brand You know, that's a lot of time you do it so that you attract. It's like a car company, right? It buys, let's say Volkswagen bought Audi and Skoda and all of that, but they've kept running those
separate units,
brands because different. They have a brand
appeal,
recall,
every brand has their
and
own
people
appeal.
like that. Instead of making all the products under one, like.
Fiat, Ferrari.
Don't have all your eggs in the same basket, sort of a scenario. Anyway, that's another topic of discussion.
I like Piyush Nanda's comment. He says maybe Bumrah won't be playing for Mumbai only next year. He also worried.
Good point, Piyush. Shubham, take that. He's not happy, as we know already.
Yeah. Him and
by that
Sky.
logic, even Surya.
Not very rosy skies.
Praveen says, what do you guys think of the all-time 16 picked? I haven't even seen it.
I actually honestly haven't seen it, and quite frankly, it's their subjective opinion, man.
Don't take these things too seriously.
It's not gospel.
It's not like the IPL has announced their 16. Then if they did,
they'll make for some
then you can
news.
It's like tomorrow we have a Sports Today award for like best cricketer of the year. You may like it, dislike it, or it's okay, but that's not the definite thing. But if the ICC come up with their awards, then you could argue.
That's a good idea for shows at the end of the year. We often scramble.
We've done it. We've done it. I think we did it once.
No.
I'm probably sure we did that.
That wouldn't be the worst idea.
Do it again.
We'll do it again this year.
Yes, we'll do it. I think we did it for one of our TV shows at the end of an IPL also. The IPL awards for that season. The best inning of
that we did.
This. No, but like an award sort of a thing. 3 nominees and then and the winner is.
Takes me back to our Shark Tanks.
Shark Tanks. Yeah, all of those things we should do it again. Let's do it. IPL during the IPL. Let's do Shark Tanks and let's do the quiz.
Quiz.
Our quizzes were fun. We'll do it. Revive it back. Let's do that again. Okay, final question. Akash Vadas, guys, in your era, which captain you enjoyed the most? Graham Smith, Ponting, Dada. His is Graham Smith.
Virat. Virat. And I'm saying this having lived through all of those captains. I think Virat, the captaincy which he brought to India, breath of fresh air.
I kind of agree with him. Virat, the captain, was good to watch. I'll tell you why. Because I say, as someone who grew up seeing very mild Indian teams, for me the images. I'm not saying that that's what matters. At the end of the day, results matter and how you perform matters. But as someone there was a moment like Srinath would bowl a bouncer, it would hit Ricky Ponting and he would apologize, and Ricky Ponting would swear back at him. I've seen that, and Slater would bully Dravid, and all of that thing. I absolutely loved it when Virat was there, and he just gave it back as good as he got.
He scared the Aussies into not sledging him.
That series when he took over, that 2 test matches they played after that, when Dhoni gave up the captain, outstanding. That Adelaide test, oh my God. That, you talk about baseball, by the way, guys, since we are in the subject of baseball, the England thinks that, Jaiswal played like that because he saw England play like
because
that.
Because of Ben Duckett of all people.
Forget about Virender Sehwag, I'm not even going there. Go to that Adelaide test match also. Like how India went for that total.
Even though, it's a choice between Virat and Ganguly for me, because again, having
Ganguly
seen,
too.
Because Ganguly sort of, gave you that little landscape and showed you a different landscape. You would at least look to take on the fight to an extent. Virat took it, won the fight. That was the difference. But had it, let's say, not been for a Ganguly, maybe you would have not seen this era also.
No, but then that's like a relay race, right? Each captain is that
exactly.
Way contribute. You go back, if Kapil did not win the 83 World Cup, you would have never believed. We were no hopers.
So, that's what I'm saying. So
each captain has done a bit, passed on his baton, and then.
But I think what he means is that here with what Ganguly epitomized,
let's say.
that aggression, that not giving. Because again, if you look at who came after Ganguly, you had Dravid, mild-mannered, Kumble, mild-mannered. Dhoni was literally nicknamed Captain Cool, for crying out loud.
But Dhoni was aggressive
for an Indian
captain. But Kohli was
not in Test cricket.
Not Test
cricket. The white ball captain is by far the best I've seen.
Even let's say as 2011 World Champions, where we thought even 13 cabinet complete, ruling the world of cricket. How many of us really thought that an Indian captain would go overseas and say, let's give them hell for 60 overs?
Yeah. True.
And I mean, we're talking about Ganguly. He was the man who turned up late to the toss all the time.
Though
and
the
annoying.
jury's out on that one. They're saying that, there are on some other accounts I was just reading that it's not true. I think Steve Waugh said it or something. Or did Ganguly say it himself?
I don't know, because if I've read this in John Wright's book. So that's a fairly, I mean, if the coach of the team at that time is saying it, I think it's a fair enough assessment to say that he knew what was going on.
Okay, on that note, thank you so much, guys, for giving us company. As always, with that, another edition of the Dugout comes to an end. Do let us know in the comment section what you made of the debate that we had. Always love your feedback, good, bad, or ugly, whatever it is. See you tomorrow. And don't forget to subscribe to Sports Today if you haven't already. Plenty of other content, other sports, everything has been up for your pleasure. So watch that. Take care. Bye-bye. Good night. Vanakkam, Nandri, Shubhratri.
Shabba khair.
Shabba khair.
Eat your vegetables.
Don't trouble your mom.